like something of interest that in case we are in the culture and creative industry and department. So it's something most a bit on my mind a little. I would have I like this to take this opportunity woo about it. And mokongo and the view of culture. Kaka culture bedo perceived in the African context and kako bedo perceived over kucha. Nyoro kana wuoyo about the orientations the system create personality and role dispositions. Gik moko mane wawuoyo about is was basic dichotomies, which was kakagi, how it is opposite in Walungi year type of orientation and the animals type of orientation in the village. So year it's more about mind, culture, strength, good, reason, authority, light. But inside my animals, animals manobedo manorium called year we have body, nature, weakness, evil, non-rationality, obedience, and darkness. You know the different character orientations, and especially in the African context, usually when we talk, you find we do this in these two type of methodologies according to the world. And one particular point was here on the basic dichotomies is mind, culture. This second part, culture. I do deal with this second part of culture. Kiwacho ni if you talk in the African context about culture, they think you're talking about tribe. Among in relation to when the dominant system talks about culture, when we're talking about cultures, we're talking about the body, nature, but not nature in its real sense, is nature in more our traditions and this stuff. So we really think about nature in very narrow. We think about culture in a very narrow or totally different perspective. And it is not an empowering perspective. It is a very demeaning, impoverishing type of perspective of culture. So when they talk about culture, it's something else. Now, I want to use a practical example to show this. I will use two things. The first one's, let me read something from UNESCO, a bit of this. It's not a whole definition, but it's a very small definition. Is cultural industry refers to sectors that produce and distribute. Now, this is the cultural and creative industries that I'm talking about. So, Jimangeng don't even understand culture as industry. I think industry is industry. They don't think culture is an industry by itself. So, cultural industries refer to sectors that produce and distribute cultural goods and services. An example: music, film, literature, visual arts, technology, design, video games, broadcasting, media, all these All these are in the cultural space. There are more. There's performance, performing arts, and your performing arts are not only performing arts and museums and this type of example. So if Q listen to the dominant society or culture or structure, this is what they mean when they talk about culture. One core way about culture, we're talking about some very small number of practices, which is really not empowering. It is not the original aspect of culture. A key way about culture in an African context, you way about something more profound. I give an example. Ono Kawadiga Igine, Kawadiga school. Nobody ever tells us what is mathematics. Just tell us mathematics has calculations. It has calculations. It has multiplications, divisions. There's never this question of what is mathematics. So, in the African way of teaching this would have been the first question. What is this we are learning? George, Mia, just 1 minute. 1 minute. Just one short minute.
Okay, GK. 1 minute you've been given. 1 minute is fine.
Good. Erokamana. George, say why we enjoy that question. What is mathematics? Can in school?
No, mano
Okay.
penjo monge ngamosega penjo wachno. Ipenjo
English.
what is physics? What is biology? Onge ngamose penjo and what is mathematics?
And there's a very good reason for this. So I'll read from our history and how we did. So mathematics is an intellectual. What is mathematics? Mathematics is an intellectual and scientific tool created and invented by African people for the purpose of systematically studying, learning, and comprehending nature. Now, when we talk about superficially or some as a joke, not even as a joke, we study it as a mirage, as a illusion. But for the Africans, for the systematic for the most already for the systematic and that is important for the purpose of systematically studying, that is the first thing, learning, that is the second thing, and then comprehending nature. They developed mathematics as an intellectual but also a scientific tool. So it is not only intellectual and it is not only a scientific tool, but it is a tool with both spheres. And this is what they mean. So since mathematics is the intellectual tool used for studying nature, there's a field of mathematics that corresponds to every aspect of nature. In the broadest sense, nature consists of space, vacuum, matter, stroke energy, time, stroke existence. Those three things. Nature exists of space, stroke vacuum, matter stroke energy, time stroke existence. This is now you're looking at nature from an African perspective. The mathematics was developed as a tool to study this nature. So you see how we are taught about nature is best word is cartoonish. Lungo again is cartoonish. It's nowhere near reality. So sorry. The field of mathematics called arithmetics deals with basic counting and quantifying things found in nature with similar qualities. Arithmetic deals with basic counting or quantifying things found in nature with similar qualities. Algebra studies the formulas and equations of nature. Geometry and trigonometry studies the spaces, shapes, and forms of nature. Calculus studies the changes over time in nature. Even the mental faculties of humans are studied in fields such as mathematical logic using binary algebra, which studies logic and reason, and statistics, which studies speculations and probability, in brackets belief. Statistics just studies belief. Their speculation and the probability of their speculation happening. This is why in most African schools, you never hear the discussion of mathematics, so that it remains an amorphous thing that is difficult to understand. Nobody tells you, it is simply we are studying nature. And since nature is so diverse and so complex, we have to develop these tools, several tools: algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, algebra, binary algebra, mathematical logic, statistics, and the other, how it is broken down even more. The formal definitions of mathematics state that mathematics is a scientific and systematic treatment and study of quantity, magnitude, multitude, form, structure, space, change, using symbolic objects to discover patterns, find solutions, determine conclusions, and establish truths, and deductive reasoning, using deductive reasoning. This is how they would define it. So by the time, instead of giving you that you're studying, learning, and comprehending nature, the way the Africans were talking about it, Obirobet, such a complex thing, studying quantity, magnitude. But if you give me the general forms, it would be easy to identify what you're studying. But if you give me data, I'm studying structure and space and change and and using symbolic objects to discover patterns and this. There's no need in the African sense to say you're using symbolic objects, because we know the mind is using symbols to move concepts around. That is a very African thing. If you see a symbol of a bird looking backwards, it is a symbolic object that you're using to do a mathematical thing. A certain part of nature, you're trying to understand probability or speculation on, or some, or it's giving you a logic or a way of reasoning about things. So here comes the dominant structure will tell you all these many words, but by the end, when you say, when you say, that's why it's called formal definitions of mathematics, you get lost by the time you're through the sentence. The etymology of the word mathematics comes from Greek word mathema, meaning to learn or to think, or to have one's mind aroused, or to be wise, wide awake, or lively. Mathema, mathema. The suffix tic, shortened version of the Greek word techne, which is technique. So it is, in the word mathematics means system, process, method, art, or craft. So a technique to think, technique to learn. technique that arouses the mind, a technique to wisdom. So the art, so it would be mathematics would be the art of thinking, systematic learning, or thought process. That is all we are talking about. Ouda in Kenya.
JK antie winja.
Awinji.
Yeah, be pod awinji.
Ineno kaka kiwuoyo about mathematics in the African context or yot. Awuoyo something very direct. This is something very direct.
But now it makes a lot of sense. But why people would ask what is biology, physics, what is psychology is the first thing you are taught. But nobody asks you what is math.
It is a tool for thinking. Especially kiddo dominate.
It's easy to ask these things, but what is biology, what's sociology, all this philosophy, but never math, because I think their boundaries are not immediate obvious. I don't know. But human beings have debated for centuries what is life, what is society. So teachers first define the field before studying it. But maths, why not maths? That's I think
Interesting.
my my thinking is society already treats it as a universal language of numbers, patterns, and logic. People begin counting long before they go to school, but there are hidden aspects of it that possibly somebody deliberately don't want us to know about it. But I'm not go ahead. Because I even have issues. Why would the Bible be translated in every African language? Every, if possible. But there are books that they don't want to translate for us.
Especially the African books.
Correct.
The Egyptian books about mathematics.
Well,
the Egyptian books about mathematics are not translated at all. Guinea English, but you cannot find them in these other forms. I will go back to that. Maybe show some a bit of examples about this in context. So it is a thinking process, a thought process, and something like this. This is why the reason why I start with mathematics before I come to what I wanted to talk about, video games, is because video games, at the core of video games, it is all mathematics. Video games are just this world of mathematics. At the back of all the images and stuff, the angles, the 3D, it is all mathematics. It is trying to take the same things that have been learned in nature and applying it in a virtual space. So there's a logic to it. There's formulas and equations. There's the study of spaces and forms and shapes. There's the changes over time as you progress through the game, as you progress through the story. So there are very virtual evidence of the thinking of this African definition of mathematics, put to a virtual model, because there's even in nature, in African thought, there's even the binary system that looks at thought, logic, and reason. Actually, the Luo understand the world as a system of legal. Okay, so this understanding of mathematics is at the core of it. It is something that we are studying nature, and nature is not animals, it's not trees. That is the other Emomione he was talking about. When they're talking about culture, we talk about nature. That is how the system has set it. When people are talking about culture, the use of mathematics and extension, we talk about nature.
Mhm.
Yes, this is intentionally done. This is this is where the Year story was important. When Year is concentrating on the favors and that whole system, the animals are concentrating on hunting, natural. Yes. So the orientation is super different. And this is why I want to bring this idea of video games. And I have 2 video games in particular. So I'm trying to look at it not as video games, as mathematics as tools used for communication. Now you're going into deeper mathematics, where even AI is just mathematics, it's formulas. There is one game, pretty common. There's one game, it is called Assassin's Creed. There's one game called Assassin's Creed. There's one game called Assassin's Creed. And Assassin's Creed is a particular part of it is very interesting to me, or just in the plot of the thing, because it's about organizations that are fighting each other. It's about organizations that are fighting each other. And what they're saying is, it is Assassin's Creed is a historical action adventure video game series that centers on the conflict between 2 factions: the assassins, who advocate for peace and free will, and the Templars, who believe in achieving peace through control. The series is known for its rich storytelling, immersive historical setting, and innovative gameplay mechanics. So that is the setting of the story. But there's one thing that is very interesting in this very interesting in this video game. Until a particular part, milongon the animus. Kise go through psychology to winjo that concept of the animus, or kata psychology. If you look, like Kakama Yuromokoda in a context of a video game. So Giwachoni animus is a noun, a feeling of animosity, ill will, attitude that informs one's actions. That is the attitude that informs one's actions. So here the anima and the animus. Magi now Kurowani Jungian psychology. So Owachon the animus, Jung described the animus as the unconscious masculine side of a woman, and the anima as the unconscious feminine side of a man. It is these definitions and how Jung saw the world is not important for understanding this. And Kechobe, okay, European thinking. What is not what he was. This part of the game, it says like this: the animus is a machine that analyzes DNA and allows people to relive their ancestors' memories. This is the reason why we are playing through historical time periods in Assassin's Creed. Because the core of the gameplay is we are going through different things that happen in history. So we'll go through different times. The time of the assassins, which was when the first one was during the Third Grade. They go through the Italian Renaissance. They go through times of Borgia, Cesare Borgia in Venice. Gise go through the time of Masyaf in and Masyaf and Constantinople. Gise go through that. Gise go through the American Revolution time. So these magi different games. There's until the Caribbean, made it through the Caribbean times when the pirates manentia. Ntie moroma colonial America, ntie moroma Victorian England. So iketi in different epochs and different times in history through the game. So gina series of games. Gise work mangeny. But the reason why you go through this different, the reason why you're going through these different epochs and epochs of history is because in the real world, you bet in the animas in this machine. That is the core of the thing. The player, it is the setting is you bet in this animas, so you're going through all this history of the people before. And the reason why this not history, these experiences of your ancestors through the DNA. Through the later in the game, Gitimo an upgrade to animas. Now Inyalo walk through the DNA of everybody. It does Oknyako bed your ancestor. That update Nilo on the helix. Walk from the animals to bedo the helix. And this part of the game is super important. Nkechineno, these things demo bedo done right now in different ways. My DNA is very important, and Kajinyalo go through DNA and you see the history of these people. Engage ancestors, especially Mekwame, Africa, they coded so much in their history, in the way they did things. Emma Wachoga Negin another version of these animals in the sense of negitio with animals as the symbols for moving the things. If you see the animal and you stand in this position, Kakangama watch the animals, you will see what the ancestor was saying because the animal is there. And now you can relieve his DNA because his DNA is in you. So this part of the of the game is very, very interesting. Very interesting. Because it is the core of the game, but you never see it. So Ntigi Mokomagiluongo, the pieces of Eden or Eden, which is Gimagibi, the reason why these two organizations in the DNA of the people is to get these pieces of Eden. So different abilities. But that is just to drive the story along. But the core of this machine that analyzes the DNA to the point where the DNA the DNA experience or the message the DNA can be given a virtual space and it can be relieved and experienced. It's a very interesting concept. It's really behind the scenes Bedo worked on. So Gimami, I mentioned this is remembering the whole idea in African thought, and knowing so from even the sculptures where the other bird is looking at the back to see, and the other bird is looking to the future, so that you can see by looking at the past, you see further into the future. So by them going back into the ancestors' DNA, they really see why the moves they make should be in a particular way in the future. So very two interesting African concepts really merged into modern culture, showing that even in video games, the culture can still be expressed and shown in very deep ways, not in very shallow ways. So the second game, Ilungo, is a very interesting one that came out not long ago, a few years ago. Ma Iluongo ni Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn. So Horizon Zero Dawn and a game about the future. And in a world where companies, for more and more market share, negichako create more and more things. But negichopo kama war became a very big industry. Kaka sani waneno I time awantie ni kaka sani waneno inchi manone in
jogo kudwar na winj wach Horizon Zero Dawn donge.
Ogidwa.
Okay.
So in this story, in this video game, the idea and in the future world, not chopo where there was so much war for resources that, and the companies, nobody was so big, they became governments unto themselves, which were not timre sani, already timre. So nochopo kama negichako dhi to war for resources, and the best way manegitimo gini negineno ni is through robots, kakineno sani, this robotics. And exactly Horizon Zero Dawn were about in that context and exactly what is happening now. And companies also AI, and in the future gibo bedo gik magore kaka ineno gini, ineno in Ukraine and stuff. So obedo from people obedo war of machines. Alafu gikao this capacity for the machines to make the industries to automate them, give this authority over to the machines to do it. Give an AI to do it. Into a particular AI manegi also for this. So the AI nochako update itself to the point magineno the problem as humanity. Korone negitemo, all the armies otemo come together and catch these were private armies of robots, but they could not do anything in case the AI money control these systems was adapting very fast. Now adapt very fast to collect data to any loophole ma NTAgo on notice kajogo exploit it to cover that or repair that or upgrade that or patch that game. Bochopo kama they could not do anything against it. Korodiko sweep. Machako Europe odiko sweep. Globally odiadiako sweep. Humans kotieko. So gikao, the scientists manentie kanyo, into a particular Ginocha Kopondo into underground layers. Negikao some scientists, and more specifically, Mane lead this project. Nilu Ongeni Elizabeth and Mana Lalkose. Mama, the scientist. Okay. The scientist Mane lead this Ilongeni Elizabeth Sobek. Sobek. Very interesting name. King, especially the Egyptian pantheon. Sobek. So Sobek no come up with an idea in case this was an idea. No come up with an idea name. They should take their DNA, and give an AI. And this AI, Bo keep this DNA that after the AI Morono Osetimo, all the distraction, this AI moroni bochako giluonge nade, rebuild and reboot humanity. So humanity gibedo grown in tubes underground, in hidden places, mondo so that this other AI makoro manifest in machines ok nyal reach them. So mano timre in around the year 2064 to around 3020. So quite some years. Nikech that destruction mano timre knockout to recover for Gaia, the AI, to form this humanity again, a love chak loss of humanity and and it took almost 1,000 years to do this. Okay, and Gimo Timre in a very short time. That was the extent of the destruction and the system, this AI moroni not him. So this particular system and very interesting how Gaia of Obedo formed. This AI magilungon Gaia. Okay, that was the AI nonego terraform the world. Terraform and do back to its original state where they're humans and stuff. And how Guinea Notim Emano creates different, in case you play the game, different tribes. Different tribes. Different tribes meaning Negi work in these underground facilities at different times and Gidibagi from different ideas of how to survive in those times. Now, Gibano Timre, which is interesting, is need the rich. Samagini no chako. This problem no chako. Ng'at moro no chako a program kaka mek ng'ane giri ma Virgin, Blue Origin, mar ng'ane, mar Bezos, Virgin, mar Virgin cha, and this type of trials give this space, give private space initiatives. To Kurone gidi bagi create a city. So the very rich no kodaki the earth kuma no bedo destroyed. Gin negida for those thousands years negin malo kucha in space. Gin negin space. Ngamano kilo this problem. Mar this AI mano di rogue. Nilungen Faro. Another interesting Kingeo mythology of gods kakawak. So no enok ne obene ono chal kaka Bill Gates, this type of character. Kitchen man no loss of these machines makoro no biro ni lungo ni chariot war machines. Ngagima ne update themselves to gibiro to giloso gino. So ni lungen Ted Faro. To ingenonen Faro automated solutions. Mano loso gini. But no chakogi as peacekeeping robots. Catch of the war. No on peacekeeping robots, but gibiro to take over and the AI loco every robot man take into that Faro swarm. So no biroko clear everything. Especially gikuma organic animals, obed trees, no car logo. So that gine no problem no chako in Australia. In the game, problem no chako Australia. But the interesting part for me and this Gaia. So Gaia, they give me several several algorithms or versions within the AI within AI subsystems. Manone got him very different things. So in case of so much of the machines, Mane run everywhere. and the factories to produce them and AI nego. Koro the air was extremely polluted. So the function mano nego detoxify the atmosphere ni lungon ether. Alafu nenti another one, another subsystem or function mani lungon Apollo or Apollo. Mano was to preserve human knowledge. Ma is another part. Mano Gaia as an AI itself and 9 parts, 9 sub AIs and 9 parts. So Apollo no nego preserve all human knowledge to know this AI no nego educate future generations about humanity. Because humanity no almost bedo extinct. Jomo survive and mana the embryos ama mane bedo incubated by this AI underground. Alafu nenti Hades, mana another subsystem. Mane an extinctions failsafe. Ma was the program mano nego reset the terraforming process. Kano nikechino this process ma terraforming ma introduce humans into the world no fail several times. Nikech the AI no kutugo. Kaloga could give every time. So every time ka okadho to reset kendo chako the process kendo or learn to chako the process kendo. So mano is the third subsystem. The fourth subsystem named Demeter. Demeter no nego or oversee the growth and health of the vegetation kendo. This was part of the machines or in the cause of war, burning, bombing, the environment no bedo very destroyed. So Demeter no nego return this subsystem no nego return the growth and health of vegetation. Alafu nti another part ma this AI milungon Artemis. Artemis no it's tijenen reintroducing animal life. Engage animal life, the AI no logo. The machine will no logo. The machine this chariot system machinery no logo. So Artemis no nego introduce human life. No nego introduce animal life by the cloning and the introduction of animal species. Alafu tomorrow, Mano is the sixth one. Artemis is the sixth subsystem, not the fifth. Elysia, then another subsystem. Mane supporting human life. So the aim was to provide a safe environment for human survival. So these subsystems of work at the same time. Matimo this, and then the other one kicks in, and then the Kamo say succeed, tomorrow ni kick in, tomorrow ni kick in. Hephaestus, Nena manufacturing, Nena about subsystem manufacturing and production. So, Hephaestus' job by this AI was to manage the creation of machines and technology again, which machines would be necessary. The first ones no fail because the AI no take over and Ochako rewrite the program. Minerva, TJ was cultural preservation. This subsystem name cultural preservation. So focused then on maintaining cultural artifacts and history. So manon the subsystem mar Minerva. Alafu Apollo kakano wase wacho then preserving human knowledge, education, and teaching humanity's history again. Minerva se preserve it to obedo taught to the next generation. But the problem en kama ni Elizabeth Sobek Gini time anegi wacho ni negi rewrite the history of the world. Minerva bo preserve and Apollo bo teach to the next generation. Not the next generation, the generations that will survive after the fail-safe or work, which has taken like 1,000 years, 1,000+ years. Negitemo remove the history of Pharaoh Ted Pharaoh from the archives. Nikech ne gineno if the future learns about Ted Pharaoh, jomoko, some of them nyalo bedo interested in how he did it, and they redevelop the systems kendo, and they go through the same massacre again. So in a system ma go through this back and forth, this back and forth, this back and forth. Kaka kiparo the kawuoyo about movies, aborango Neo, The Matrix. Nikech sama Neo yudre with the architects. So the architect tell ng'ise ni you are you're not the first. Almost 10 versions, 10 or something. I can remember the number of you have come. So my name I find interesting, but gima interesting nikech pod wawuoyo wan sani giwuoyo about the future. So ineno kaka the dominant culture kata kowacho ni gi destroy the world. Kama kaka gise through the games gipuonjo nyithindgi a version of the future kaka gin gineno. Nikech gineno no okay. Kata ka ji wacho ni AI will take over, gineno no okay. It will take over to be destroy everything, but one get this idea and this other AI more about develop. So ikete as a video game, makineno ka most of the time kirango ka video game and gik nyithindo, to you will miss the message nikech koro en classroom for the children. To ka gitugo this game, gibedo immersed in the world, gibedo immersed in the law, to obedo part of their reality. So gimomiyo en interesting for something is the name of these subsystems gin the name of Greek gods. Or maybe the name of Greek gods. So which is very interesting. The other time no watch on Jogi Pod, and the culture still Kigologa their gods in these ways, and giketo them in this type of formats to Jipod Paranoke, Magi Joma irreligious, again atheist and all these other things. So the first program and Ether as a concept and Gima Gachan it is Kaka Jogo Nawachon, everything was made of ether. Kaka Negingeo, the Greeks. Gachan ether is the source of everything. I'll geek out the names of these gods. Apollo in the Greek pantheon and the god of the sun, music, and prophecy. But in Horizon Zero Dawn, and the system of preserving human knowledge to educate future generations and humanity. And then get into Hades. Hades was the Manonen, the ruler of hell. Okay, before Nilungen hell, you don't get Hades. But keep pronouncing Kaka Hades. But in Hades, Kaka African lot on Hades. King George can Hades. One is the dark world, Lord of the dark world, Lord of hell, hellfire and brimstone. I love Demeter. Mano Hades no nego no bedo designed to reset the terraforming process if it failed. The process might reintroduce humanity into the world and biological plants and animals and culture. This whole setup. Demeter no nego produce plant life, but Demeter in the Greek pantheon and the goddess of agriculture and harvest. Artemis Manonego reintroduce the cloning and reproduction of animal species, this AI. Artemis was the god of the hunt and the moon. That was the goddess of the hunt and the moon. In Enokaka relate these concepts. Hephaestus, god of fire and blacksmithing. So Hephaestus manages the creation of machines and technology. manages the creation of machines and technology. Gimedo not only Greek, Gimedo not only Greek gods, but Romans also. There's some Roman gods being kind like achiel too. Nikech ne gin around 3,000 gods. Just the Greek system of gods. Ne en gi 3,000 gods. So Hades was named god of the underworld. Listigini and Listigini Bor. Listigini Bor. It's a long or so Pantheon Ginengi 3,000 of these characters. Minerva and about culture. As for cultural preservation and history, and Minerva and Ness have the same purpose in the Pantheon. Same purpose. There were also some. So ether was brightness. Then one of the contexts of. Then one of the. Tia certain thought magin go about it. Which ether is brightness. Hemera is day. Nyx is night. Eros is procreation. Tomagi. Kick out that concept of you lock into a character. You lock into a character. So jogging, but I'll talk back to the point. For me, what was interesting is how Giri introduced the same Kakawa Jogan Sechemokwate Munisojini Juogi is not really spirits. No Gikao these concepts, these principles to Gidwoko Gears AI. And it's still doing the same thing Magiwachon the God was doing. So missing something is happening. Kanyama very interesting. Super interesting. But Kwadogo point Kendo is that Gimachon even using video games to teach the old religions, but not as the gods, but as functions and principles or systems or technologies or algorithms. The algorithms brings us back to mathematics. It is a technique of thinking and of learning. And the AI itself is learning. Is this the mathematics refining itself and learning from itself? So it is interesting. Give me this AI, these names of this God. Give me these purposes. So for me, an interesting in the future of Horizon Zero Dawn, in that fictitious world, I wonder in the future, Gibo Chako look at this AI as gods. Kakawa and Saniwachon Juogi and spirits. Will we look at those systems, the principles of creation and the mathematics of it? That is God. And Toachon, even that principle of creation, the AI is supposed to do something. It is an algorithm that does something, and it works. In that world the terraforming happens. And Wabekwa push AI bochopo where it can do some of these purposes more mere, if not all. Jomabo Biro in the future, Gibo Chakon Wachon, those are gods. Or what? Okay. That AI system Manonego reintroduce human life to the system. Elysia mane support human life. Alafu Manonego clone be. iluonge nadi kendo cha Elysia. Mano onego reproduce again. Oduok the human being again. Mano Apollo. Kendo gi penjogi alafu Minerva puonjogi the culture. Kane giwuoyo about these systems of knowledge, mathematical systems ma operate, natural systems, nikech for the African, mathematics is a study of nature and how it's doing. So kagikaw these particular parts of nature, gibo bedo worshipped in the future as gods. And it's a curious question. Nikech, are we doing that? Kwajon Juog is spirits and this. Are we taking systems and obedo made for some particular mathematical purpose? Auda en mani luar.
Enan.
Koriwinjo penjo na kawa these particular systems, mathematical systems, mano bedo made for particular purpose. If now we are calling them gods and worshipping them and this. And in the cultural context, if we are not understanding these were particular systems, mane our forefathers ne tiyo kodo, but one wakawo as traditions and stuff like this. And or understand what it was supposed to do and how it works, or make it the core of everything, or make it the whole purpose. So now Anyalo worship Apollo, Artemis, Minerva, to Anyalo golo sacrifices to systems mane to our ancestors, making just mathematical systems, which is culture, which is that world, my culture, Manyalo learn. That level of consciousness. Kawacho culture will mean about that world of consciousness. In the Luo context and that world of consciousness. Akiako makes sense. Not Akiako makes sense, but using video games as to show you what is that the inner workings of the knowledge Majogi no learn from Africa. The knowledge Manegi learn from Africa.
Yeah, Ramat, it makes a lot of sense, especially the connection between Greek gods, those many gods, and mathematics. I think it's deeper than it just appears, because for me, the gods symbolizes forces, patterns, or principles that mathematics simply try to describe logically. So if Kaluo your explanation. So yeah, so the Greeks believe the universe was a cosmos, and an ordered system. It was not chaos. The Greek don't believe in chaos at all. They believe in order. They look like people like thinkers like Pythagoras believed numbers had sacred meaning to him. But in Greek, numbers were represented by various gods, not just symbols written on a piece of paper. I think that's what I understand in what you are explaining.
And how much more deeper Kawa understand Kata Luo worldview, which is the biggest part of the culture, not the traditions. Kwa really understand it, how much mathematical Wanyalo bit, and even in terms of development, which type of systems Wanyalo create. It does not stop just on the knowledge. Amomiakelo this idea, meaning the scientists made this AI, these mathematical models that could do the work of terraforming the world after their own destruction. So that is the angle of culture still. So future chalnadi for the African child, for the African adult, but in a Luo context, in the Luo context. Future chalnadi. If they understand this mathematics, really the supreme mathematics, the mathematics behind the mathematics. Ginyalo create systems machal nadi. Nikech here ineno ne giyudo gitiyo gi mathematics to destroy, then gitiyo gi mathematics to rebuild. So by mathematics ka ineno, okay, and about numbers and about thinking techniques, thinking processes, thinking systems. Because
Yes,
that was the original definition, Mare, in the African context. No, okay. They never define it. Okay.
they don't. That's the truth.
Jaco with the discussion.
I know no one, even to our listeners, I don't think there is anyone who has ever sat in a class, mathematics class, and the first question is, what is mathematics? It's never there.
My money, but not much. We try to say many things that you can go through this and get the degrees and get the accolades, but the core of the thing you don't understand. And the time you reach the information, you put it in such a confused manner that it doesn't even make sense. It's unusable for you. Inyalo use it only if you're making what he wants. But you, it doesn't make sense. It only makes sense when you're using it to his ends. It's a very interesting way. In Kechpodwani, the concept of year how year comes to become year and comes to own the whole thing. So you know why the calculation was he multiplies the spoons, he adds the spoons, he's doing addition. Kama we have this value added tax, this value addition tax. Koro add the value and then tax. To a position where the animals find they are bound. It's a very interesting system. You know, not simply about Jorachori. Then a whole system within systems. Okay, in the future, I'll give you an example. In the future, game no ibo tugno called Jo Asia. Okbibedo Jorachare kende. So ikwa concentrate to the whole time on Jorachere. Obo miss it sama jogi pull it on us. Ama jomoko kendo pull it on us. Katako ken Jo Asia. Kata ken Jo Mexico emo biro kode. Kata Jo South America emo biro kode. Nyaki ne the game. Omenachon kikete context ma Jesus tibo miss. Kanga ma biro onge Jesus. Ko onge kata the idea of Jesus. Eno biro gram, shiri ram, kianga no giri, shiva giri. Ibo nene naden. Kechi expect Jesus ema biro. Tokalo through. Awachie gimoro uda. Kapoko chopo kama walore. Kech time ode.
Yeah, this Horizon Zero Dawn is very interesting because it talks about the future and the present at the same time. And
and a very interesting video game. Very interesting.
It's more than a game. It's not just a game. It's system and civilization collapsed, and then nature has returned. Human now live in tribal societies, and now humans are have gone back to telling stories of the old civilization, but they are redefining that civilization in the current tech context. And it's a game of numbers. The numbers mean a lot to them, and the numbers are not just numbers. They're represented by by gods. So it's not mathematics. It's not mathematical numbers that we are talking about, because the AI system called Gaia acts almost like a symbolic mother rebuilding life after destruction. If I listen to,
What is interesting? The Gaia
yeah.
is when it manifests and the Komarating.
Yes, it looks like uh-huh.
When in the game, nikech nitie times minyalo wuoyo kod the AI as you interact with the game. Nikech the hero is a female, also called Elizabeth. So, meaning this Elizabeth, the hero, the one you're playing, the protagonist that you're playing, is a direct descendant of the scientist. So the AI made her by using the DNA of the scientist, the exact DNA of the scientist that was stored. Yes. But when Gaia manifests as a female, but an African female. Very interesting.
It's a circle. I see it as a circle of civilization. The tribes see they're like ancient technology they see it as mysterious and sacred. Knowledge was lost, but then this reflects a real historical truth. So it tells us that in essence, it tells us that civilizations can fall, but nature, because if, for example, if everything is destroyed, especially human is destroyed, human life and everything, the nature will rebuild itself back quickly. So the humans might be destroyed, but the nature itself. So in essence, technology alone cannot save humanity unless human beings also develop wisdom and responsibility. Mm.
And very interesting.
And it's such an interesting thing. I've been listening and I'm like, yeah, that's what my thinking is around the whole thing. But it's quite interesting. But the most important thing is mathematics is not just numbers.
It
In
is a
the
way of
in the proper cultural context, mathematics,
the
that's why
African.
they can't define it. They can't define it. Yeah. What is mathematics? I can tell you what.
Defining it would mean you have to go to the roots that is African.
Correct.
And you can't let them do this. You Okinyal me or the Africans. They can. Remember, Wachogan, we are dominated by what? Words.
Correct.
Okinyal, where you cannot let them come to the point where they understand words deeply again. You can't. You can't. Even in the definition, Nyaki confuse them. The definition itself has to confuse them. Some of the let me just repeat this so you see how it comes out. What is mathematics? Mathematics is an intellectual and scientific tool created and invented by African people for the purpose of systematically studying, planning, and comprehending nature. Since mathematics is the intellectual tool for studying nature, there are fields of mathematics that correspond to every aspect of nature. In the broadest sense, nature consists of space, vacuum, matter, energy, time, existence. Okay. So, formal definition of mathematics. Makorokwa Dokin, there are formal definitions, not the African, just what they'll tell you, what you'd meet in the book. Formal definitions of mathematics state that mathematics is a scientific and systematic treatment and study of quantity, magnitude, multitude, form, structure, space, change, using symbolic objects to discover patterns, find solutions, determine conclusions, and establish truth using rigorous deductive reasoning. What? What? He mastered this iparo ni riek, but he mastered words.
Yeah.
Just words. Keeping point manoti do an egg. That has been the experience. Keeping point manoti do a wangi. It's not technical enough. But so you can Okinyal allow in such a system, you cannot allow the African to regain his mind.
We must keep
Again, in Enogima Minka, we are dominated by what? Words.
words. Makes a lot
And
of
by
sense.
by putting all that explanation in your head, you will miss the real purpose of this thing, of this tool.
You'll be busy wanting to know that.
Odini quantity, this. Instead of understanding nature, so Kawachon quantity in nature corresponds to this. In the African context, corresponds to this. Amomi onge ching manu debate kanyo and discuss what is mathematics. It was never going to happen. Ibo discuss emana malokuja university level. Kawase confuse you enough. And don't you have a formulas? You know why this formula is used, but you don't know why it was chosen.
Yeah.
Why this particular formula? Especially when I was going through mathematics when I was young.
Yeah.
Can I go through mathematics? My mind nane always painja. The first question, Manobiro, the time we started this, to not paint up the teacher, and it just got me into trouble. My first question, that was, why are we calculating anyway?
Yeah.
Why do we have to calculate? Hey. Got me into trouble. Yeah. Why are we even calculating? Not how do you calculate? Why do all this? Matembo Penjo Mwalimu. You are the ones who are hard-headed. You're stupid. You're the ones who don't learn. Your son is a mama. Your son is something is wrong with his head. He's not learning. He's asking strange questions. I don't think it's right in this school. Not sure Danyaka transfer.
Yeah.
This one is asking.
Yeah, it's a question. My thing has been the Bible. I love reading it as a book and all that, but I have a lot of questions because why if this place is so nice with all these things, the book is translated in every, but a biology book cannot be translated in Luo so that we read biology, we study biology in Luo, we understand those plants name in Luo and all that. Instead, you are given a name that has got a plant name that has got 27, 37, 47 letters, but that thing is just energy walk in the Luo, but they don't want you to call it a joke.
No problem.
They want you to call it a joke. But polo to bedo described ni maber gi dholuo kaka polo ting'o mola. Mula giudi mama, giudi mamil. Anyway, I'm not going to
That's
fight.
just
Let
it.
me- let's leave it. Pulono get describe muma kaka otimo mula. Kisoma doluo mama doluo besenga kaka mama doluo describe otimo mula gi omera. Oya oye gi kanyora moth.
Oh, mate.
Ojuok,
Number one.
ojuok ok dwar ni ndik ni isom gi dholuo ojuok. Imil en nying man gi letters chiegni 50 kia gadi. Mano e nying ojuok. Yeah. Polo to bedo described gi dholuo to ojuok to ok dwa ni ing'e ni luonge lago gi dholuo.
Okay, okay. Ah, I would imagine no.
Yeah.
Doesn't know.
Kanya
Yeah.
sajo age odhi
Yeah.
kose. Mano Ramoth, mano was quite yo. I don't know. I'm sure joma winje, I'm sure ni gin bende because it was impromptu, but it has been a lot, but very deep. And yeah, thanks for that, Ramoth. Man, personally, I've really personally talking for myself. You've given me another deeper thought of the other things that I normally think. Now I'm gonna think a bit more deeper again around other things. Yeah, it's great. But and
Katakanya
especially
Rio Biro.
maths. Maths. What is maths? I never asked that question. That's the truth. Donje is like chemistry class. Donja na biology class. Maths, philosophy, physics. You will have to describe what is philosophy, what is psychology, what is math, biology. The study of care plants or what is the psychology, the plant of behavior of and the mutations of the brain and all that. Talk what is math.
This is what
Kareko penyo what is math to
you
description
calculate
then was
this.
African. Nitie kama odhi wacho African. Bas, mane ma problem. Kanya ma problem.
And this is how you calculate this. The area of a triangle is this.
Yeah.
So Obedo Matek use that knowledge to benefit the African.
Come on, Ramath. That was good. Honestly,
Impromptu sessions.
that was good. That was very good.
Impromptu sessions. So as we wind up, time is very much flown. As we wind up. What's an idea as we wind up?
Ramath, as we wind up, as always, we've always said this is the place you will hear things you will possibly hardly not hear anywhere else. Because some of the things that Ramoth talks about and we go through here, gingik very very deep, culturally deep, emotionally thought provoking, and I personally, as me, sab kaka angagi privilege ma hosti. It's always a pleasure, especially I always know that these impromptu ones are always very, very, very good. So our people, this is the place to be. Let's just be honest. This is the place to be. You can come out. You can sometimes come out with that knowledge that you didn't even expect. Something that you learned. We are not saying you don't know these things, but you might add to your knowledge. That is one. You might also hear something that possibly you are hearing it for the first time here. But we are culturally deeply rooted. And like you see, mathematics goes back. Mathematics today, why they don't ask you what is, or they don't describe when you get to a mathematics class, they don't say, what is mathematics? All of you have got your own fields of expertise. You've studied psychology, you've studied biology, you've studied chemistry, physics, all the time. What is this? What is this? But math was never. But today Ramoth has explained it to us. So that's what you'll be experiencing in Ramogi Cultural Institute for Luo Heritage and Education. The programs that like that, the people that deal with these programs can come up with very, very unique topics like that. But sometimes they're impromptu. So stay with us, be with us. We learn together, we move together, we ignite our ancestral consciousness together. Thank you.
Rakamano kabisa, cultural champions, and to Ramogi Cultural Institute for this opportunity to dance and sit and talk about these things. Still, there's so much that we will go into. There's culture and design, culture and technology, culture and film, culture and creativity, culture and there's so much we still what they discuss. So we hope the cultural champions will be with us through the whole journey. And we, at the end of this, we might start seeing even Luo culture for this, for the expanse that it is, for the opportunity and the advantage it is, and what our ancestors left us. It is something, it is an industry, it is so much if we are equipped to use it, because they left us such a quite a resource that can be built on. So thank you so much for to Ramogi Cultural Institute for Luo Heritage Research and Education for the opportunity to do this. Thank you so much, Auda, for always being there and hosting me graciously in all this. Agoero, come
Thank you.
on.
Thank you, Ramoth. Thank you.
Watching the DJ Mondo or with something.
Owacho odwa ni winja nema gima owachora about somebody who cannot be a leader. I don't know why.